Welcome to The Explainer. I'm your resident Azure SQL Database expert, and today we're doing a complete run-through on provisioning a SQL Server on an Azure Virtual Machine. Think of this as your pre-flight briefing. We're going to get you totally prepped before you jump into your hands-on lab. We'll cover exactly what to do, why you're doing it, and honestly, a few of those sneaky pitfalls you'll definitely want to avoid. Let's dive in.
So here's the million-dollar question. How do you actually build a secure, cloud-based SQL test environment in just 30 minutes? I mean, in the real world, as a DBA, you're constantly asked to spin up test environments like yesterday. You definitely don't have days to wait for hardware procurement. You need a robust database set up in the cloud, and you need it fast, like half an hour fast.
To keep things super practical, we're framing everything around a real-world scenario from your upcoming lab. Imagine you're the lead DBA for AdventureWorks. You've just been tasked with creating a sandbox environment for a brand new proof of concept. This proof of concept relies on SQL Server running on an Azure VM, where you're going to eventually restore the AdventureWorks data warehouse database and run some heavy queries. Our job right now? Get that underlying infrastructure dialed in perfectly.
Here's a quick look at our game plan. First, we deploy the Azure VM. Second, we connect via RDP. Third, we verify the whole thing using SSMS. And finally, number 4, we clean up our resources.
All right, let's kick off phase 1, deploying the Azure Virtual Machine. When you jump into the Azure Portal later for the lab, the navigation is actually pretty straightforward. You'll sign in, head up to that top search bar and type in Azure SQL. Hit Create, and then just be careful here. Make sure you select the dropdown specifically for SQL Virtual Machines. It's an easy path, but knowing exactly where to click right off the bat is going to save you some serious time.
Now you're going to want to pay real close attention to these configuration parameters. For the name, we're going with Azure SQL Server VM. For the image, grab the free SQL Server license, that SQL Server 2022 developer running on a Gen 2 Windows server. For the compute size, look for the standard D2S V5. That'll give you 2 vCPUs and 8 gigs of memory, which is perfect for this setup. Oh, and this is absolutely crucial. You must open the inbound port for RDP, port 3389. Skip that, and you're essentially locking yourself out. And hey, don't forget to actually write down the admin username and password you create. You're definitely going to need those later.
When you're actually in the portal, those text inputs map directly to the setup interface. You'll work through the drop-downs for region, availability options, and the image. For our specific test lab scenario, leaving the infrastructure redundancy as no infrastructure redundancy required is totally fine. There's really no need to overcomplicate things here.
Okay, let's talk storage architecture, because as an expert DBA, you really need to know why Azure configures things the way it does. Out of the box, Azure VM templates spin up one premium disk with read caching specifically for your data files. But, and this is key, they create a completely separate premium disk with 0 caching for your transaction logs. Why? Well, transaction logs are super write-heavy. Caching them can actually bottleneck your performance or even risk data integrity if there's a system crash. Azure also natively uses the local temporary SSD for your temp DB to give you maximum performance. It's basically best practice architecture, all handled seamlessly under the hood.
Moving on to the Management tab, and watch out because there's a massive gotcha hiding here. You need to verify that Enable Auto Shutdown is unchecked. Seriously, if you leave this checked, your VM might just randomly power down right in the middle of your testing. Yeah, we definitely want to avoid that headache.
Once you finally hit Review plus Create, expect the actual deployment to take about 5 to 10 minutes. Azure's backend is doing some heavy lifting here, provisioning the hardware, installing Windows Server, and configuring SQL Server all at the exact same time. Honestly, it's the perfect excuse to go grab a coffee before the next step.
All right, phase 2. Let's get connected via RDP.
Getting connected is super streamlined. Right from your VM's overview page, you're just going to hit the Connect button. That lets you pull down a remote desktop protocol, or RDP, file straight to your local machine. You just pop that file open and punch in those admin credentials I told you to write down earlier.
You're going to use the Download RDP file option provided in the portal. That downloaded file is literally your keys to the kingdom. Azure securely generates it with your VM's specific public IP address baked right into the code, making the connection an absolute breeze.
Now, if things hiccup, don't panic. A super common roadblock here is the port prerequisite not met error. Basically, if you forgot to open port 3389 during the initial setup, Azure's going to flag it. No big deal.
Just follow the link provided in the portal to add an inbound network security group rule for destination port 3389. Boom. Once that port is open, your RDP connection will sail right through.
Moving right along to Phase 3, verifying everything with SMS.
So the beauty of using that SQL Server developer image is that SSMS is already pre-installed for you. Once you remote in, just click the Windows Start button, search for SSMS, and launch it. The server name will be pre-populated. But, and listen up, because a lot of folks miss this, you absolutely have to remember to check the Trust Server Certificate box before you hit Connect. Since this is a fresh test environment using a self-signed cert, checking that box simply tells SSMS, hey, it's cool, let the connection through anyway.
Before we wrap up the verification piece, let's take a quick second to talk about why we're even doing this on an Azure SQL VM instead of just racking a generic server. The portal hooks you up with some incredibly robust built-in management tools. So even though you get full OS-level access, Azure can still step in to handle your automated patching, run your backups, and make setting up high availability practically painless. It really is the best of both worlds for us DBAs.
Finally, Phase 4, cleaning up your resources. Depending on how you structured your lab, you've got two main routes for cleanup. If you spun up a dedicated resource group just for this AdventureWorks proof of concept, awesome, you can just delete the entire group. That nukes the VM, the disks, the network interfaces, the whole shebang in one single click. But if you are sharing a resource group with other important projects, you'll have to manually hunt down and select only the resources prefixed with your VM's name to safely delete them. Azure has some pretty strict safety rails in place here. You can't just accidentally blow up your entire environment with a rogue mouse click. Whether you're deleting the whole group or just isolated resources, the portal forces you to explicitly type the word delete or type out the exact resource group name to confirm. It's basically a final sanity check before your assets are permanently vaporized.
And there you have it. We've tackled the deployment, remote connections, SSMS verification, and the all-important cleanup. You are now fully armed with the how and the why. But keep in mind, spinning up this single VM is just day one of your cloud journey. The real question is, how will you use this foundation to architect the highly available, massively scalable data solutions of tomorrow? Let's get straight into that hands-on lab and put all this theory into practice.
In this section of lab, we'll go through DP-300 Database Administrator. And the very first lab is provision a SQL Server on an Azure Virtual Machines. I'll share the GitHub link so that you can follow when you do into your own lab setup. So let me start the lab. Here I have already connected to Azure Portal. So now here you search for Azure SQL, and you can see the different services there related to Azure SQL. Select the Azure SQL option, and then if you expand, and then you can see under SQL Server section that SQL Server on Azure VMs. So click on that option available, and now here click to create that one, and down here you can see that the image. So here we are going to use the let me expand that one. We are going to use SQL Server 2022 and developer version. So that is free SQL Server license, which is SQL Server 2022 developer on Windows. So select that option and then click on, there is also high availability for our lab purpose. We are not setting that one. Then click on create SQL virtual machine. So next page here, select the subscription, then select resource group. Then here give a virtual machine name. So let me put that Azure. Then select the region here. Next, you can see that there's the availability options. So in my case, no infrastructure redundancy required, but you can select like availability set or VMSS virtual machine skill set. Then it's coming the image we selected. Based on that, it has got that image, but you can also go through like other images, select all images. You can see the image list and you can go back again. So let me close that one. Okay, it's, you can see that it will be loaded, and you can filter like Azure services only or Azure benefits. Also free trial options is there to filtering more options or to reduce the number from the selection panel. Close this one. And then from here, VM architecture, we are selecting that 64-bit. We are not going to select that spot instance. Then size, for this one, we are going to select the size is D2SB5. If you click here, see all sizes, you can go through all the sizes available from here. So select that size here. And you can see that there is also differences like general purpose, but you can see the 5th generation. And then select that one. After that, it's coming like Azure administrator name. So give a name, give a password. This value must be between 12 and 123 character long. So okay, let me give something complex. Then public input port. This is RDP port, so that a port should be allowed for accessing. Then you can select the specific IP in your own environment. For our lab, that is fine. Then licensing options, we need to select that one. Would like to use an existing Windows Server license. So in this case, just select no. Like, oh, no need to select. Then click on disk. And here in the disk level, you can see that it is giving you option like uh, the OS disk where actual operating system reside. You can select that options. It has got up to 2 terabyte that you can select. Then OS disk type, you can see there is also different type of disk, premium disk, standard disk. I'm not going to explain too much on this, but these are the different disk type. It's coming like price wise. You have to select which is suitable also based on your environment. And if you want to get more information, you can select that learn more. Then this is coming like when we delete VM, because virtual machine level we can attach and detach disk. So that option is available. For our lab purpose, we are just giving okay, when we will delete VM, it will delete like all those disk itself. There is coming the key management for the security management. Like we can create a key and attach here, but in this case, we are just giving perform managed keys, and we can also select like both of them. So this is kind of double encryption in 2 layers of encryption that you can see. So you can set that up if we want. Then go to advanced. If you expand, you can select that is a user managed disk. User managed disk is Microsoft will manage, and otherwise as a owner, as a customer, you can manage themselves also. Then it's coming like ephemeral operating system disk, but here it's showing that currently not supported for the selected instance size. So there are requirements. Then click on next networking. So we are taking all the default, like it will create a network subnet and public IP. But in your own environment, you need to get all the details, set up all the details working with the network team. Then you define which is the right one. Then load balancing is coming, that do you enter the load balancer, all the setup application gateway. Then go to management. So we are just for all others we are going through like default options for our now, like for now. Then click on review plus create. And you see that validation passed and create is enabled, so select that create button. You can see that deployment has been initialized and deployment in progress now. So let me back when this is ready. So deployment is succeeded. Close that one. You can go to resource. And that overview section, you can get summary information. You can see the properties. You can get that private IP address to for this VM. You can size from here monitoring section. You can get the I can select basic monitoring, but if you want, you can set that up. Then capabilities and all other informations there that you can get that. Now to connect to that machine, you can see that connect option is here. So you can see, expand that options and then click the connect and connect via Bastion. That is in summary, that's the secure way of connecting to your VM. And when you set that up, Bastion server using private IP address. So let me go to that connect here. And then you can see that the RDP file for connection. So select that RDP file and it will be downloaded. So select keep option and then click on open file and then click on connect. When you connect, then you have to use the password that you set that up before and then select OK. Click yes here. So here I have connected to that VM. Now here, search for Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So you can just type SSMS. So you can see that it opened SQL Server Management Studio. Select that one. So try Windows. You can close that one. Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio Administrator open. You can see that it is coming. Connect to the server box. Here you can select that trust server certificate and then click on connect. And from here you can manage your SQL Server databases. So these four databases like master model, MSDB, TempDB is the default databases. And if you want to create another database, you can just right click and you can see. We'll go through those maybe in future lessons, but that is most of the task you can go through from this console. So close this one, cancel this one. And this is size-wise like your log files or normal database files that you can go through. To close this Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, you can just cross here. And in a lab environment, it is always better to remove all the resources or delete all the resources so that you does not get additional costs. So for that, you can go to Azure Portal. Oh, just minimize that one. And from there, you can search for resource group. Otherwise, from here, you can see that resource group. So you can go there, resource group from home button, and there's the options for delete resource group. So you can individually remove services from that resource group. Otherwise, if you want everything, then you can just copy this one and paste it in resource group. But always careful, because when you do this one, resource group label, that means all the resources or services that you created under this resource group will be deleted. Uh, but for your lab environment, so that it does not incur additional cost, you can do this one. So that is all for this lab. If you have any questions, you can add that into comment section. Otherwise, I'll see you into next lab.